these 3 kingdoms. Just for the sake of argument, sir, what place would you suggest?" "Oh, the exact spot is immaterial, Sir Percy," replied Chauvelin coldly. "The whole of France stands at your disposal." "Aye, I thought as much, but could not be quite sure of such boundless hospitality," retorted Blakeney imperturbably. "Do you care for the woods around Paris, sir?" "Too far from the coast, sir. I might be seasick crossing over the Channel, and glad to get the business over as soon as possible. No, not Paris, sir. Rather, let us say, Boulogne. Pretty little place, Boulogne, do you not think so?" "Undoubtedly, Sir Percy." "Then Boulogne it is. The ramparts, an you will, on the south side of the town." "As you please," rejoined Chauvelin drily. "Shall we throw again?" A murmur of merriment had accompanied this brief colloquy between the adversaries, and Blakeney's bland sallies were received with shouts of laughter. Now the dice rattled again, and once more the 2 men threw. "'Tis yours this time, Monsieur Chauvelin," said Blakeney, after a rapid glance of the dice. "See how evenly chance favours us both. Mine the choice of place, admirably done, you'll confess. Now yours the choice of time. I wait upon your pleasure, sir. The southern ramparts at Boulogne, when?" "The 4th day from this, sir, at the hour when the cathedral bell chimes the evening Angelus," came Chauvelin's ready reply. "Nay, but methought that your demmed government had abolished cathedrals and bells and chimes. The people of France have now to go to hell their own way, for the way to heaven has been barred by the National Convention. Is that not so? Methought the Angelus was forbidden to be rung." "Not at Boulogne, I think, Sir Percy," retorted Chauvelin drily, "and I'll pledge you my word that the evening Angelus shall be rung that night." "At what hour is that, sir?" 1 hour after sundown." "But why 4 days after this? Why not 2 or 3? "I might have asked, why the southern ramparts, Sir Percy? Why not the western? I chose the 4th day, does it not suit you?" asked Chauvelin ironically. "Suit me? Why, sir, nothing could suit me better," rejoined Blakeney with his pleasant laugh. "Zounds, but I call it marvellous, demmed marvellous. I wonder now," he added blandly, "what made you think of the Angelus?" Everyone laughed at this, a little irrelevantly perhaps. "Ah!" continued Blakeney gaily, "I remember now. Faith! to think that I was nigh forgetting that when last you and I met, sir, you had just taken, or were about to take, holy orders. Ah, how well the thought of the Angelus fits in with your clerical garb. I recollect that the latter was mightily becoming to you, sir. Shall we proceed to settle the conditions of the fight, Sir Percy?" said Chauvelin, interrupting the flow of his antagonist's gibes, and trying to disguise his irritation beneath a mask of impassive reserve. "The choice of weapons, you mean," here interposed His Royal Highness. "But I thought that swords had already been decided on." "Quite so, your Highness," assented Blakeney, "but there are various little matters in connection with this momentous encounter which are of vast importance. Am I not right, monsieur? Gentlemen, I appeal to you. Faith, one never knows. My engaging opponent here might desire that I should fight him in green socks, and I that he should wear a scarlet flower in his coat. The scarlet Pimpernel, Sir Percy? Why not, monsieur? It would look so well in your buttonhole against the black of the clerical coat, which I understand you sometime affect in France. And when it is withered and quite dead, you would find that it would leave an overpowering odour in your nostrils, far stronger than that of incense." There was general laughter after this. The hatred with which every member of the French Revolutionary Government, including of course ex-ambassador Chauvelin, bore to the national hero was well known. "The conditions then, Sir Percy," said Chauvelin, without seeming to notice the taunt conveyed in Blakeney's last words. "Shall we throw again?" "After you, sir," acquiesced Sir Percy. For the 3rd and last time the 2 opponents rattled the dice box and threw. Chauvelin was now absolutely unmoved. These minor details quite failed to interest him. What mattered the conditions of the fight, which was only intended as a bait with which to lure his enemy in the open? The hour and place were decided on, and Sir Percy would not fail to come. Chauvelin knew enough of his opponent's boldly adventurous spirit not to feel in the least doubtful on that point. Even now, as he gazed with grudging admiration at the massive, well-knit figure of his arch-enemy, noted the thin, nervy hands and square jaw, the low, broad forehead and deep-set, half-veiled eyes, he knew that in this matter wherein Percy Blakeney was obviously playing with his very life, the only emotion that really swayed him at this moment was his passionate love of adventure. The ruling passion strong in death. Yes, Sir Percy would be on the southern ramparts of Boulogne 1 hour after sunset on the day named, trusting, no doubt, in his usual marvellous good fortune, his own presence of mind and his great physical and mental strength, to escape from the trap into which he was so ready to walk. That remained beyond a doubt. Therefore, what mattered details? But even at this moment, Chauvelin had already resolved on one great thing, namely, that on that eventful day, Nothing whatever should be left to chance. He would meet his cunning enemy not only with cunning, but also with power, and if the entire force of the Republican army then available in the north of France had to be requisitioned for the purpose, the ramparts of Boulogne would be surrounded, and no chance of escape left for the daring Scarlet Pimpernel. His wave of meditation, however, was here abruptly stemmed by Blakeney's pleasant voice. "What, Monsieur Chauvelin?" he said, "I fear me your luck has deserted you. Chance, as you see, has turned to me once more." "Then it is for you, Sir Percy," rejoined the Frenchman, "to name the conditions under which we are to fight." "Ah, that is so, is it not, monsieur?" quoth Sir Percy lightly. "By my faith, I'll not plague you with formalities. We'll fight with our coats on, if it be cold, in our shirt sleeves, if it be sultry. I'll not demand either green socks or scarlet ornaments. I'll even try and be serious for the space of 2 minutes, sir, and confine my whole attention, the product of my infinitesimal brain, to thinking out some pleasant detail for this duel, which might be acceptable to you. Thus, sir, the thought of weapons springs to my mind. Swords, you said, I think. Sir, I will e'en restrict my choice of conditions to that of the actual weapons with which we are to fight. Folks, I pray you," he added, turning to his friend, "the pair of swords which lie across the top of my desk at this moment." "We'll not ask a menial to fetch them, eh, monsieur?" he continued gaily, as Sir Andrew Ffoulkes, at a sign from him, had quickly left the room. "What need to bruit our pleasant quarrel abroad? You will like the weapons, sir, and you shall have your own choice from the pair. You are a fine fencer, I feel sure, and you shall decide if a scratch or two or a more serious wound shall be sufficient to avenge Mademoiselle Candeille's wounded vanity." Whilst he prattled so gaily on, there was dead silence among all those present. The Prince had his shrewd eyes steadily fixed upon him, obviously wondering what this seemingly irresponsible adventurer held at the back of his mind. There is no doubt that everyone felt oppressed, and that a strange murmur of anticipatory excitement went round the little room, when a few seconds later Sir Andrew Ffoulkes returned with 2 sheathed swords in his hand. Blakeney took them from his friend and placed them on the little table in front of ex-ambassador Chauvelin. The spectators strained their necks to look at the 2 weapons. They were exactly similar one to the other, both encased in plain black leather sheaths, with steel ferules polished to shine like silver. The handles too were of plain steel, with just the grip fashioned in a twisted basket pattern of the same highly tempered metal. "What think you of these weapons, monsieur?" asked Blakeney, who was carelessly leaning against the back of a chair. Chauvelin took up one of the 2 swords and slowly drew it out from its scabbard, carefully examining the brilliant, narrow steel blade as he did so. "A little old-fashioned in style and make, Sir Percy," he said, closely imitating his opponent's easy demeanour. "A trifle heavier, perhaps, than we in France have been accustomed to lately, but nevertheless a beautifully tempered piece of steel." "Of a truth, there's not much the matter with the tempering, monsieur," quoth Blakeney. "The blades were fashioned at Toledo just 200 years ago." "Ah! Here I see an inscription," said Chauvelin, holding the sword close to his eyes, the better to see the minute letters engraved in the steel. "The name of the original owner. I myself bought them, when I travelled in Italy, from one of his descendants." "Lorenzo Giovanni Cenci," said Chauvelin, spelling the Italian names quite slowly. "The greatest blackguard that ever trod this earth. You, no doubt, monsieur, know his history better than we do. Rapine, theft, murder, nothing came amiss to Signor Lorenzo, neither the deadly drug in the cup, nor the poisoned dagger." He had spoken lightly, carelessly, with that same tone of easy banter which he had not forsaken throughout the evening, and the same drawly manner which was habitual to him. But at these last words of his, Chauvelin gave a visible start, and then abruptly replaced the sword, which he had been examining, upon the table. He threw a quick, suspicious glance at Blakeney, who, leaning back against the chair and one knee resting on the cushioned seat, was idly toying with the other blade, the exact pair to the one which the ex-ambassador had so suddenly put down. "Well, monsieur," quoth Sir Percy after a slight pause, and meeting with a swift glance of lazy irony his opponent's fixed gaze, "are you satisfied with the weapons? Which of the 2 shall be yours and which mine?" "Of a truth, Sir Percy," murmured Chauvelin, still hesitating. "Nay, monsieur," interrupted Blakeney with pleasant bonhomie, "I know what you would say. Of a truth there is no choice between this pair of perfect twins. One is as exquisite as the other, and yet you must take one and I the other. This or that, whichever you prefer. You shall take it home with you tonight, and practise thrusting at a haystack or at a bobbin, as you please. The sword is yours to command, until you have used it against my unworthy person, yours until you bring it out 4 days hence, on the southern ramparts of Boulogne, when the cathedral bells chime the evening Angelus. Then you shall cross it against its faithless twin. There, monsieur, they are of equal length, of equal strength and temper, a perfect pair. Yet I